Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think like, yeah, overall, like, yeah, the two first sections were, it was very good to start there because you definitely start with the right kind of frameworks. I think it was essential for sure to kind of, yeah, to go through that process. And as I said, like, you know, I definitely didn't do all of the activities, but I could relate it back to things that we'd done or things that we were doing, and just like, yeah, kind of draw comparisons to the process that we've been on. Because essentially, like,
yeah, awesome.
Say last year, so like for context, I was the second marketing person, and like the first person was more doing, you know, the demand capture, like just getting everything running, and then I guess I was like the demand generation, demand creation side. And I think like I did go through a pretty similar process of, you know, finding the dream customers, working out where they are. So a lot of it was like, oh yeah, I've done this, just like different format, not as detailed. And I think as a marketing team now, you know, every 3 months or 6 months, we're like, oh, let's go back and, you know, do this again. Or some things you do annually, right? So now, like,
yeah,
having those frameworks in the, yeah, be ready, be helpful sections is really useful to have.
Oh, awesome. I'm glad. I'm glad you felt that way. I suppose that's part of why we created it is, yeah, because it just seemed to us that no one had organized all this stuff. It was out there, but in terms of having a framework of what to do and when, it was just nice to have it in a place that you can just look back and access what you need and work through it.
Definitely. And I think, like, look, not that I'm moving jobs anytime soon. Like, I'm really happy, but like, this is the kind of stuff that I can have in my back pocket, right? If like, theoretically my next job was like to be the first marketer at a startup, I go, here's the framework I'm going to follow. And like, you know, this is the formula.
Back to the program, I suppose you sort of touched on it then, but what did you feel was the biggest benefit out of being part of the B2B Incubator?
I think having a bit more structure. Like, I think a lot of my marketing education, you know, is, sure, I studied marketing at university or did some marketing subjects, but like, it's so different to marketing in the real world, and especially in startups. And I think like having some structure and frameworks now was probably the most, like, that is super helpful. Like, for example, even I keep coming back to it, but the 5 stages of awareness. Sure, like, I've seen, you know, a funnel before in the awareness, but that was like, oh, this is actually super useful for a B2B, like, for B2B marketing and also for kind of like niche marketing, pretty much. So I think it's like a lot of it is like taking these big marketing concepts and making it more friendlier for the kind of marketing that we do. So
awesome. That's awesome to hear. Were there any, I suppose, issues or problems that you were facing internally, or even just as a marketer, that you feel have helped being resolved by the program?
Yeah, one that comes to mind straight away is I'm still going. It's on the 5 stages of awareness. Maybe that's why I like it so much.
Yeah.
But we're doing a lot at the moment, working with our sales teams on, you know, once we give them leads, like, kind of working with them to prioritize the leads and the different lead sources. And so now with this, the 5 stages of awareness and the explanation of them, we've mapped it to content, and we've gone, you know, like, these leads here, which we're getting on through like a paid LinkedIn ad, are very different, you know, in the funnel to our leads at the bottom of the funnel that are creating a free trial. And then having that kind of framework to go, look, these ones are problem aware. Like, let's, instead of jumping straight away to trying to sell them the product, trying to give them a free trial, let's kind of like, you know, have those conversations around the problems that they're having and, you know, getting them slowly solution aware. And like, I screenshotted the, one of the slides and sent it to this AE and went through it with him. And it was like, an hour later, he goes, "Oh, I just had the best conversation. Like, you know, a meeting isn't scheduled yet," which like it shouldn't, you know, these are like top of funnel leads, but you know, he's like, "I get it now." That was so helpful. And like, so I've shared that slide, you know, with the whole marketing team. I think now, like, you know, having the ABM content and that spreadsheet like couldn't have come at a better time, I think, because, you know, we're doing our next year planning and then kind of at the same time going, look, like we've started building this community, we've just ran an event like awards ceremony. Hey, some of our like ideal customers were in the room, like what's the next stage, what's the next step? So yeah, I'm really looking forward to like applying more of that, like going through that spreadsheet properly. Yeah, working with sales and like thinking about, you know, how marketing doesn't just end at marketing, right? And it goes, you know, all the way down. And you have to work with sales. And I think, yeah, like having some more things to share with them definitely helps. This is more like within the marketing team, but we've been calling like we had our Australian CFO Summit, we've got like a New Zealand Masterclasses, the awards. We've been calling them like a community, but I've definitely kind of having, you know, watched the video on community and taken that in, I kind of, you know, brought the challenge to my boss, our head of marketing, being like, hey, we call it a community, but like it's actually one way. Like we're just kind of giving people, you know, these content and they're engaging, but we haven't yet, you know, created that kind of two-way feedback or let our members, you know, really kind of engage with each other. Maybe the ceremony, you know, the other night was probably the first stage of that, but probably just being conscious that, look, like if we're going to grow this community, it needs to be a community where like members engage with each other. It's not just us calling it one and us shutting down content.
What level of B2B marketer do you think this is best suited to?
I think it's pretty broad. I'd say probably the like intermediate. So like probably, I guess what I like consider myself is probably where it's best, because you don't want someone really junior, and I don't think someone from like who's got heaps of experience would probably do the work. So I think like intermediate is probably good.
How did you find the pace of the program, at least like the weekly required materials to learn?
I probably found I was doing it in once every 2 weeks. I'd spend then like double the time doing the content. I think the pace was, maybe a little fast, as well as like if you're doing the work at the same time, then like it would be too fast. I think to consume the content though, like it was probably fine. I just like should have been better at keeping up. And then maybe it's just me, but like a few times I ended up just reading. Like I know you sent the long PDF. Like I've read one or two instead of watching a video, because like that's just I like to read, right? As opposed to
No, totally. That's That's exactly why it's there. People like to consume information in different ways. People get sick of my voice. That's totally fine. Final question. Would you recommend it to other B2B marketers?
Yeah, for sure. Like, I think people that fit that, like, don't know, essentially, like, thrown in the deep end, don't know where to start, or just like going through that process of early stage, I definitely would.
Awesome.